Welcome to Just the Facts. What do I literacy need to know about reporting and Ontario's single language mark? Let's start with what remains the same. We teach and assess the specific expectations of the curriculum, but we evaluate a student's achievement of the overall expectations for that grade. We certainly continue to differentiate for our students to meet them where they're at and to work with them to fill gaps to continue forward momentum. And in some cases, we may be addressing things that are not part of our grade level curriculum with our whole class. But when it comes to evaluation and reporting, Growing Success reminds us that evaluation accurately summarizes and communicates what students know and can do with respect to the overall curriculum expectations. Remember that these are the grade level expectations for the end of the school year and that your professional judgment plays a part in determining how a student is evaluated. We use our professional judgment to determine which specific expectations to use when we evaluate achievement of the overall expectations. Remember that Growing Success states that determining a report card grade involves the interpretation of evidence collected through observations, conversations, and student products combined with the teacher's professional judgment. Another thing that has not changed is the use of the achievement chart as a framework for assessing and evaluating student achievement of the expectations of a particular subject or discipline. The achievement chart enables teachers to make consistent judgments about the quality of student learning based on clear performance standards and on a body of evidence collected over time. It also provides teachers with a foundation for developing clear and specific feedback for students and parents. When assigning a grade or mark, we need to consider the student's integrated learning across the strands in each reporting period collected over time. Using multiple sources of evidence increases the reliability and validity of the evaluation of student learning. Sources of data include conversations, student-teacher, what students are saying about the learning, for example, through questions, connections, extensions, oral and written reflections, and student-teacher conferences. We might note the use of new words, explanations for self-correction, the formulation of questions, or contributions to whole and small group discussions. Observations. How are students interacting with the learning in small groups, partner work, and skills discussion? We might hear students trying to decode words accurately, noticing them making corrections in their own reading and spelling, looking for books with more challenging words, contributing to vocabulary lists, or even transferring knowledge to new concepts. Products, an activity or task that is a response to the learning, such as written work, models, graphic organizers, videos, songs, dramatizations, posters, quizzes. We may see our students creating word webs or decoding new words in various content areas, reading a decodable text fluently and accurately, retelling a story, or writing a sentence or a simple story. Our students may write letters to friends or relatives, label diagrams, create a comic strip, or a story map. This qualitative data can be interpreted to determine a report card grade in line with the achievement chart and the teacher's professional judgment. And remember that evidence of student learning should reflect the student's most consistent level of achievement, with special consideration given to more recent evidence. So what has changed? The 2023 addendum to Growing Success has shifted to reporting student achievement as one overall grade or mark with supporting comments, with the idea that all strands are connected and to foster a cohesive approach to both instruction and assessment across the curriculum. The ministry emphasizes that we should consider the students' integrated learning across the strands in each reporting period when determining a single mark. As we consider weighing the 4 strands to determine one report card mark, we need to remember to consider the instructional contexts. This slide illustrates 2 possible contexts through pie charts showing different proportions of the strands. In this chart, you'll notice that strand B is weighted more heavily than the other strands. This might be a primary classroom with significant word-level reading and spelling needs. Perhaps the teacher is purposefully giving a big push to teaching grapheme-phoneme correspondences and word-level reading and spelling, knowing that this initial investment of instructional time is necessary to support strong comprehension and writing for strands C and D. Or this may be a junior or intermediate classroom where students have limited awareness of morphology and syntax. So the teacher is strategically focused on building this knowledge of language foundations and conventions in light of the shifts in the curriculum. In the second chart, you might notice that strands C and D are weighted more heavily. Perhaps this is something we would see in a junior or intermediate classroom with accurate, fluent readers who have a strong knowledge of language foundations and conventions. We may see that the majority of instruction here is focused on the research-based practice of linking reading and writing. Students write about what they read, and they read about what they write. There is no formula set as to how these strands should be weighted in determining a grade for a report card mark, and this is a place where your professional judgment will help to guide you. Consider the instructional context, consider what you have taught, and consider your students. And remember that you have professional judgment to use the assessment data that you have gathered, the observations that you have made, the conversations that you have had, and what your students have produced. Use the achievement chart and the curriculum expectations, and remember the instructional context. Growing Success states that your professional judgment is informed by professional knowledge of the curriculum expectations, context, evidence of learning, methods of instruction and assessment, and the criteria and standards that indicate success in student learning. Comments become increasingly important with the shift to 1 mark as they provide us with a way to communicate what we might once have captured in marks. Focus on what students have learned, describe significant strengths, and identify next steps for improvement. Strive to use language that parents will understand and provide them with personalized, clear, precise, and meaningful feedback. Communication about student achievement should be designed to provide detailed information that will encourage students to set goals for learning, help teachers establish plans for teaching, and assist parents in supporting learning at home. Use the information gathered from observations, conversations, and products to share specific examples of what students have done to demonstrate their strengths and communicate next steps, sharing what still needs to be accomplished connected to learning. Comments should reflect personalized, clear, precise, and meaningful feedback. Remember that while there are formal reporting periods, communication with parents and students about student achievement should be continuous throughout the year by a variety of means, including interviews, phone calls, checklists, and informal reports. While a key recommendation of the Ontario Human Rights Commission is to use evidence-based screening tools, they should not be used for evaluation. Screening measures are brief, 1-minute indicators of a specific skill. They are not measures designed to evaluate student achievement of overall expectations in the curriculum. While it is tempting to use the at, above, below, and well below benchmark labels from screeners to directly inform report card marks, this practice is not supported by either the Ministry of Education or screener researchers. The benchmarks are not correlated with grades and are intended for assessment for learning, to drive teacher instruction, and as learning, to show progression along the trajectory. This graphic may help as a way of representing how conversations, observations, and products across strands can converge into 1 mark. It's important to notice that this determination of 1 mark is done in the context of instruction and your professional judgment. This helps to clarify, for example, if strands should be weighted differently. We have shown how marks narrow to 1 single mark, and then comments allow educators to extend and enhance, elaborating on student strengths, growth, and next steps to give additional details to the 1 mark. Another important note is the positioning of Strand A, with a focus on transferable skills, digital media literacy, and cross-curricular integrated learning. The skills and processes of the overall expectations in Strand A are used in the teaching and learning of the concepts in Strands B, C, and D, and should be assessed and evaluated within these contexts. Thank you for joining us.